Welcome to this video, guys. I want to teach you real quick how to restore some old antique cast iron skillets that my wife inherited from a family member that we had to estimate are probably about 60 to 70 years old. This is the brush that I used. I purchased it off Amazon and it was $8, and I'll put the link down below. And all you do is you take this little Brillo pad, this wire brush attachment, attach it to a angle grinder like I have here. This is a Porter cable angle grinder, and I am just knocking all this rust off. And you want to make sure you have a couple things safety wise. Have some leather gloves, a mask, like a respirator mask, and eye protection. I would definitely highly recommend you have all three of those things. When I was doing this and knocking some of this rust off, I actually had a piece of the rust fly off. A big chunk of it actually flew off and hit me kind of between the eyes and the bridge of my nose, and actually punctured my skin. But if that had been my eyeball, that would have definitely hurt a lot more and maybe caused some eye damage. So be very careful as you're doing this. And leather gloves, I nicked my fingers a few times, but because I was wearing the leather gloves, it didn't cause me any pain or injury. So what I'm doing is a time lapse here of me knocking all the rust and carbon off, because back in the day they used these to cook over fires or maybe even wood stoves. There was a lot of carbon that would build up on the bottom of these things. Wherever there was kind of like a ridge or a little groove, you'd have high amounts of carbon that would build up, and then there's a layer of rust on top of that. So I'm actually knocking both of those off using this wire brush, and it makes pretty short work of it. It's kind of tiring and you know, fatiguing on your forearm as you're working on it, but it's kind of therapeutic. It's fun to do, and it's very rewarding to take something so old like this. That's you know, these were just sitting out in a shed of ours, and we kept meaning to restore these things. And we even bought a bunch of 2 liters of Coca-Cola and even vinegar, thinking that we would soak them in there, but we just never got around to it because they were out in our shed, and we just never thought about it. And you know, the Coke goes bad, and we went through the vinegar. So I heard about this technique through a friend, and we decided to get this attachment and try it out. And sure enough, it absolutely knocks that rust off really quickly, and it gets that shine back in the cast iron. Cast iron, I kind of used to have a love-hate relationship with cast iron, because you know, I used to prefer more of the non-stick Teflon style skillets. When I make fried eggs, I just hate when they stick to the skillet. But as one of the things that really sold me on cast iron was taking it camping and being able to cook over a fire, and just the indestructibility of these things. They are absolutely indestructible, and you can cook over really hot, you know, messy fire. You can wash them off in the river, and you know, I can throw them back in my kayak and keep going. You just want to make sure, you know, you dry them off, and we're going to show you how to season them and everything like that too, to prevent any further rusting. But it's important when you're using these things that you use a lot of, you know, oil or butter or whatever, because that's going to make it give it the non-stick effect. But also when you're washing them, you want to make sure not to use soap, like especially degreasing soap, because what we do is we just take a paper towel, or we just rinse them out with a sprayer, and you actually want that patina of oil or residue left on there, because it actually seasons the pan, the skillet, and it gives it its non-stick effect. The more you can leave on there, actually the better. So you know, things like doing ground beef or frying eggs, you know, all that oil and stuff, you actually want that residue to build up on top of your cast iron skillets, and that makes it a lot easier to use. So as you can see, I just keep working back and forth, and working on the little spots here of carbon and rust that I'm trying to work off. It's a little bit labor intensive, but all total, this maybe took me 20 or 30 minutes to actually do. I would definitely recommend doing this outside because this creates a lot of dust, and a lot of the dust that comes off is, like I said, that carbon and rust, and you don't want that in your home. And I would recommend you wear like a respirating mask. So I got it mostly done. I'm just looking over, and there's some little spots here and little nooks and crannies by the handle that I was unable to get. So I took a wire brush and just hit those spots, the little detail spots here. And then for even further and more exact detail, I went in with a barbecue grill wire brush. It's a little bit smaller, They also make little toothbrush-looking wire brushes that you can buy and use. But this is the finished product of it being sanded down. Well, I take that back. There's a little bit of residue on the inside that I'm going to work on, but this is very close to being done and ready for seasoning. This is the before picture of this skillet, if you can remember from the beginning of this video. And I'm not sure how old these things are, what the manufacturer is. Maybe if you guys know anything about these, you can comment down below. This is some of the carbon and you know, just the residue that's built up over the years using these things from the prior owner. And so what I'm doing is I'm just I'm using this angle grinder a little bit more, and I'm working this around the edges here to try to knock some of that down. And I do know they make a different angle grinder attachment that's more for horizontal type usage, and that may have been better in this application here, but I got it done nonetheless. So the next part is to take this Crisco, this vegetable seasoning, and put it on a rag. Just get a big gob of it. And what you're going to do is first, you're going to put the first layer of seasoning on your cast iron, now that it's all polished up. And you just take it and wipe it, make sure you get full coverage all over your pan. And it's kind of hard and clumpy at first, but we're going to resolve that here in a second. So you're just oiling it up. This is going to put the first level of seasoning on it. And you make sure you do the handle, and you can't put too much of this stuff, so just lather it all on there. It's kind of like a wax on, wax off kind of situation. Wax on, wax off. Okay, so this thing is ready to go in the grill. So what I'm going to do is take this oiled up pan here with all this Crisco all over it, and I'm going to put it in my barbecue grill. And what I always do is I put 2 in the grill together, so I get 2 ready to go, because that way I'm more fuel efficient. But I put it in the grill for about 10 minutes just to heat it up, and then what we did is we let it cool down a little bit and put another layer of Crisco. This is us putting a layer of Crisco on our number 8 skillet that we got, that we cleaned up recently as well, just not in this video. My wife is putting a layer of Crisco on this one, and then she's going to put a second layer of Crisco on the number 7, which is featured in this video. So what this is doing, if I understand the science and the physics behind it correctly, is that this is making the metal expand just a little bit and kind of opening up the metal to allow that Crisco to kind of be absorbed into it, so to speak. And then what it does is it creates these multiple layers of Crisco over and over and over. So it creates this non-stick effect. And this is just the first of what will end up being hundreds, if not thousands, of layers of oil and residue that we put over it. And it kind of gets better with age. So we get it up to about 200, and I leave it in there for about 2 hours at 200 degrees. And that just kind of bakes this seasoning onto it. And you can do this as many times as you want. You can add as many layers of Crisco as you want, but ultimately, once you start using it and cooking with it, and like I said, getting the oil all over it from you cooking, that's where it's at. So you want to start using it, and the more you use it, the better and more behaved it seems to be. So this is before, and this is after the seasoning and everything is complete. So this thing's ready to fry up some eggs. And this is a larger pot that we featured, and this is the after cleaning it up. Well, thanks guys for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe it. I hope it was informational for you and gave you some tips on how to get your old cast irons squared away. And these things are definitely worth the time, and they are indestructible in the last multiple generations. See you guys.